Hi, Kat Chancellor with Stamp Art Connection and StampArtConnection.com. I have a special card for you. It's a fancy fold card. It's called the Curved Fold Card, and it features the flowering tulips. My sample there is a Happy Mother's Day card that I used to create this, but we're going to create a congratulations card for a special mom who just gave birth to twins. What we're going to need for this card is cardstock is going to be Calypso Coral. You're going to cut 3 pieces. Our dimensions for the base or the back of the card is 5.5 by 4 1/4. You're going to have 2 tabs that are going to fold in on itself. One 6.5 by 3 and the other one 6.5 by 1 3/4. I'm also using some DSP from the Daffodil Afternoon set, which is going to be some background. Here's my template that I'm using, and I'm going to lay out the pieces so you can kind of see how they align. There's the back. There's our smaller tab to the side, and then our middle piece. There, it's about 6.5 inches long, but we're going to create the fold, and we're also going to create the tabs. Now the fold that's going to adhere to the back of our base card is going to be at 1/2 inch, and we're also going to score it at 1/2 inch on the other side, which comes out to 5 1/4 if you're looking at the paper. We're then going to create our tabs. Now here I get a little confused, but basically the tab should be 3/4 of either side. So looking at it, it should be 2 1/4 from the edge, looking at the scoreboard. But the other way that you can do it, and this is what I do here, is I just flip it around and I do 3/4. So that I'm going to have an extra score line in there, but basically it's 3/4 and 2 1/4, and I'm kind of making that note there on my template. The other piece, which is going to be the front piece of our curved fold card, again 1/2 inch on one side, and then we're going to create our tab, which is going to be again 1/2 inch on the other side, and I'm just making sure that all my measurements are correct, and that's going to come out to 5.5. And then again I want to make sure I have 1/2 inch on either side. I just flipped it over and did a 1/2 inch, and that's going to create my score lines are going to help me to cut my tab. So there's that extra score line, but you can kind of see I'm going to cut up to the first score line to create my tab. I like having a very thick tab for this 3-inch wide piece, which is going to be our middle layer, and then this is going to be our front layer, and I'm just going to go ahead and cut the tab for this piece. Again, that's 3/4 of an inch on either side, and then our tab that is going to adhere to our base card is, again, it's 1/2 inch. So there, that's kind of showing you what it's going to look like. But what I'm showing you here is I'm showing you that we're going to create a special effect using the dies, this really pretty edge die that comes with the flowering tulips bundle. We're going to cut, and what I'm showing you here is actually a mistake, because this particular piece was 2.5 inches. I had to recut that, so I have a 3-inch wide piece. And when I cut my 3-inch wide piece, I'm going to have enough paper to cut my edgelet, my tulip edge, and not kind of have how I kind of cut off those tulips. So I was kind of making this on the fly, and I'm making some adjustments as I go. But the final PDF that will be on my blog will have these measurements on it. So now that I cut that die edge on my 3-inch by 6.5 inch piece, you can see that I didn't cut off any of my tulip tops, because the next step to this card is that I want to add the tulip flowers on top of my edgelet there, my die. So the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to cut a piece of the multi-purpose adhesive strip, which is available in the catalog, and I'm just cutting about a 1" by 6" piece. I'm going to put it on a piece of cardstock, and this is crushed curry. I'm going to put it down in the corner right there, and then I'm going to use my die, and all I really want to cut are just those flowers. That's what I'm interested in. So I'm going to run this through my Big Shot, and you're going to be able to see here in a minute. I'm going to cut that out. I've got my flowers, my crushed curry flowers, and they cut perfectly on my adhesive strip. I'm going to kind of punch out all those extra pieces. And then what I want to do is I just want to trim off the flower tops of this die. I don't want the stems, just the flower tops, because I'm going to adhere those directly on the die cut piece for my card. And there I'm just kind of cutting off all the little stems that come with this die. Carefully just kind of cutting them off so that I have just the flower tops. And this really isn't hard. Now you can see how the flower tops are going to fit very nicely on top of my die cut edgelet there. Then I'm just going to remove my adhesive backing, and I'm going to move in here so you can just kind of see how I'm just kind of adding those right on top. And this is what's going to give us a pop of color, because now my tulips are crushed curry and they kind of stand out from the rest of the card. Now there is a little bit of the backing is still showing, but I'm really not worried about that for the card. Okay, so I'm just kind of trimming it a little bit. Now that's our tab that's going to go onto our base card, so we really don't need those little pieces. We want to kind of trim those off so that it's going to fit very nicely on the front of our card. Okay, so there is, and that's our middle layer. Now for our top layer, I'm just going to cut the tab, just kind of trimming it. And now I'm kind of showing where this is going to be, how it's going to be adhered to our base. And we're going to use a piece of tear tape for that. But because this is a curved card, we're going to have to cut some slots in our card so that the these tabs, these two pieces, can be folded into them to create this curve. So it goes in 1 3/8, and then it's 3/4 from the bottom. And then what's really nice about putting this card together is that once you cut those layers that are going to be your curves, you can use them and kind of check your dimensions. So even though all my dimensions are going to be available on a PDF on my blog, I just want to show you that you want to make sure that your dimensions are as you've cut them for your two curved pieces. So I'm just kind of checking, make sure that fits. That's how that piece is going to go there. Now this piece is going to have a slot in it because that's where the top piece is going to fold into. So we're going to measure. I'm just kind of measuring here where I want that slot to go, and that is going to be 1 1/4 inches from the fold. It's going to be 1/2 inch from the bottom of the card, and then to the top of your tab is going to be I believe it's going to be 1 1/4. Yeah, 1 1/4 inch from the top of the tab. Now, again, lay your tab out and make sure that that matches. And there I just put a little dot because that is what I'm going to use. I'm going to use these pencil lines to actually cut these slots with my my mat. So there I have my 2 pencil marks. I'm just looking for my X-Acto blade, and I'm just going to cut to my two pencil lines. And there's my slot. And the same with this one. I'm just cutting that slot. And there you go. Then I'm going to go ahead and I think I'm going to bring my eraser out, and we're just going to there we go. We're just going to erase those lines, and those lines go away forever and a day. Okay? So it kind of shows how there's our base. Now, before the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put the middle layer, which is the larger of the 2 layers, we're going to put that down on our base card first. And the reason why we're going to do that, and you just want to be very careful that when you line that up, you make sure that the bottom of that piece lines up perfectly with the bottom of your card right there, okay? And then you see how it's going to fit in there, and it just fits in. There it is. It fits in perfectly. If you need to adjust, just go ahead and use your X-Acto and make sure that it lines up perfectly along the bottom. And now I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to put my tear tape on the tab for my other the other flap, which is the top layer of our card. And again, I'm just kind of folding it, and I'm making sure that I lined it up to the edge and that I lined it up to the bottom. If you don't have it perfectly aligned to the bottom, your curves are not going to align perfectly, okay? I'm just kind of moving the paper, and there you can see kind of now how those 2 go in there, and there we go. We created our curves, our curved fold card. Now I'm going to put the DSP on the back of our base card, and I've just basically cut a 5 1/4 by 4 is the dimension of that DSP, but I'm going to adhere it with some Tombow glue, and I'm putting the Tombow glue very specifically because I don't want to put the glue over our slot that we've cut in there. And then I'm going to kind of lay my my DSP backing right onto the back of my base card, or the front of my base card. Okay, now I'm going to flip it around. I see where my slot is right there, and then I'm just going to get a ruler, and I'm just going to cut through that slot so I can cut the DSP on the other side. And there it is. It's going to come out just right. I'm just testing it now. There it is. It's perfect. Okay, and then there's my top, the front of my card, which is the smaller of the 2 layers. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut a piece of DSP for this piece. And the DSP for this piece is going to be 5 1/4 by 1 1/2. I've already cut that, and that is going on the front of that layer right there. So that's how that's going to look when it's closed, and then when you open it. So there it is. That's the front of our card, and I'm just kind of laying it next to our template. And basically all we have to do now is start to put it together and finish it up. So I'm starting with the congratulations from Inspired Thoughts. And I'm also picking the Such Happy News from Honeybee Home for the inside layer. And what's not shown here is I did already pick a sentiment that said celebrate with create with friends. So I've already stamped my sentiments. I'm just going to make this very simple. I'm just basically just kind of cutting them into placards that I can mount on a piece of mossy meadow that's going to go on my card. I'm just going to trim these down to the size that I want them using my stamping trimmer. And I'm kind of going back and forth making sure that I have the right dimensions, and you know, this is kind of the part where you can have fun and you can begin to kind of embellish your card yourself. That's where I want Such Happy News, and then I want congratulations. I'm going to have to now add some ribbon, and I'm using the yellow gingham ribbon, which I think goes really well with the crushed curry, and that's going to go on the front. I'm going to mat my congratulations on a piece of mossy meadow. Now here's a really easy, simple way to do it. I just basically paste that kind of on my cardstock, and then I use my trimmer and I just kind of trim my edges to the dimensions that I want them, and boom, look how pretty that is with the gingham ribbon. For the inside, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to mount that on a piece of mossy meadow using my Tombow multi-purpose glue. Again, just kind of trimming it with my trimmer very fast. Clip my two ends from my pendant. Now I'm going to go into a little bit more detail here because I want to add just a little bit of an embellishment to kind of tie my ribbon into my my middle layer. And I just basically glued that ribbon or around my pendant, and then I'm taking some Calypso Coral baker's twine that I had. This is probably retired, but I just kind of like tied it around. I'm just trying to add a little bit of color to kind of pull my Calypso Coral and my crushed curry together. I'm pulling those end pieces for my baker's twine, and I'm locking that in with a dimensional. Very simple, but it kind of gives a nice look. Then I'm going to place my tulips, and I have another video that I'll kind of show you how I put those together. Those tulips are crushed curry with Calypso Coral sponged on the edge. I'm just kind of arranging them so they are above the kind of above where our die cut piece is, and then I'm just going to go ahead and put in my mossy meadow trim, just using a little bit of Tombow, very carefully, just kind of laying it in there. You can kind of stick those edges right into your flowers, and I'm kind of arranging them because I want them to all come together into a bunch, kind of a bouquet, because I'm going to put a ribbon on the bottom. That's what I'm kind of doing, and I'm kind of playing with the stems, and they work perfectly there. Kind of clip the ends. I'm going to use my my bone folder, and I'm just kind of giving my leaves a little bit of dimension and kind of place them there, and basically just kind of adhere the bottom of them, and right along the stalk. And I went ahead and I cut one more just to kind of put it in the middle, so it kind of added a nice composition there. And then I'm just going to grab some of my gingham ribbon, and I'm going to tie a nice bow, and we're just going to go ahead and put that right there with a couple of glue dots, and that's the inside of our card. And I think that looks really pretty. So we're going to go ahead and finish up our card. We're going to add our other pieces to the front. I'm going to use my gingham ribbon. Sometimes I use tear tape, but in this case I'm just going to use some Tombow glue, and it worked well because I'm going to add this placard here with my sentiment on dimensionals. Now I will tell you that by adding a placard on my front piece, because this is a curved card, it does add a little bit of stiffness. So you want to take that into account when you're building this curved fold card. I'm going to add dimensionals to this little placard here, or rather my little pennant that's going to go in the middle, my middle layer, right there. And then I had the Celebrate, which I think I had embossed, and I had this from another card, so I just kind of threw it in there. But right now I'm going to put some of these wonderful brass butterflies. If you don't get a chance to get these, I really recommend them. They are just gorgeous, and they're flat. They don't add any bulk to your cards. I just love them. I just think they're just really a wonderful embellishment for any card. And then I'm just going to add some along my tulips there. I kind of went a little crazy with them, but I just really think they're just really gorgeous. So there you go. Now I have one more thing that I want to do. I want to add over here on this side behind it, I want to put a piece of cardstock, some white cardstock, so I can write a little note to the new parents of the baby girl twins. This is going to be cut 5 1/4 by 1 1/2, which is the same size as the DSP on the other side of this flap. There, I'm just measuring it, and this way I can write a little message for the recipients, for the new parents. And then on the other side, I have a Celebrate sentiment that I stamped from another stamp set called Create with Friends in gold embossing powder that I was going to use for this card. And I really didn't know where to put it, but you'll see that as I put this together, that it's going to look really nice on the other side of the flap that you open it up. And I'm going to go ahead and put that one right there. And so I believe the die that I used to cut that out is a retired, but it's the Hippo and Friends die. They had some really nice framelits. So that's how it closes. It closes nicely, can fit in a standard envelope, and there it is. I love the bling of those butterflies. So I think it's really going to be a lovely card. I'm really happy with that. Now as I had said before, when I put the flaps in, because I've added those extra pennants and placards, they're going to be a little bit stiff. So what I did, and I'm going to show you here in a minute, is I just kind of opened them up, and then I just kind of, you see I'm trying to get it to kind of stick there. I just kind of opened it and kind of bent, kind of bent that a little bit to make it a little bit more. There you go. But I hope you enjoyed my card. Thank you so much for joining me, and please like and share.